This week we have our own Tom Magnan and Mandy Matzek from Prescott Foundation, and they're going to fill you in what's new and give us an update on what's happening at the foundation.
Mandy Matzek. Thanks for inviting us to be here to talk a little bit about the Prescott Foundation. It's good timing. We just got done completing our 2018 and 2019 annual report. So for those of you that have donated to the foundation in the past or our Prescott addresses, you'll be seeing this in the mail, and it talks all about all the great things that we did this past year. We hit a really big milestone, so we're celebrating our 30th anniversary and over $500,000 in grants. So that's really something that we're very, very proud of, and we thank our forefathers. Franz, I believe you were on the board.
Not the original one, but
close enough, right? For having the effort and the foresight. We have beautiful Freedom Park to thank for those contributions as well too. So really a celebratory year for us. A couple of things that to highlight in our givings and grants this year. One of them was in support of giving some money towards the canine unit and to get them off the ground and starting. You may see the little blue birdhouse boxes around town. They're accepting donations. It's a pretty hefty thing to start up for them. You just think a dog, but there's handler training. They would have to have a specialized fittings and things for their the truck that they use. So everything costs money. Then there's ongoing things like food and stuff. But what was really we thought was great foresight for them is that they have a different veterinarian and handler that are going to donate ongoing medical and food. So I mean that's a really big cost savings for them. So we spoke with Officer Jesse Neely, who came to the foundation meeting, and he spoke to us about it. And a lot of good questions came out of it, and he provided some excellent answers. The dog would serve, not only as walking through the schools, but they've seen a great increase in drugs in the community. So the dog would also be on hand for drugs and also search and rescue. So, which is important, being that we are in a farmland community and along the river. So, the dog is going to be very useful and dual, tri-purposeful. So, it was something that we were proud to support. You may have driven by the baseball field recently and seen all those bright, beautiful ads out there. The foundation did help support that Spark the Park along Firehealth Field, and the monies that we provided for them were to increase the, it's kind of hard to see, but the fence line was too low and not sturdy enough to handle the signage based on its weight, plus not only just wind and snow and weather. So we were able to give them some funds to help beef up those fencings to get a little bit, to be more sturdy and stronger and to be able to support the signs. So we also helped support the softball team too, to help start their fundraising project for new fencing around the softball field. In school news, one really cool thing that we helped get started was supporting the Pollinator Club. And so the students are learning about, harvesting bees and handling them and taking care of them. And most recently, Mr. Brazali said that they have harvested their first round of honey. So that was pretty cool. Unfortunately, because it's their first batch, they're gonna wait to perfect it a little bit better. But then eventually what they're gonna do is they're going to offer the honey to be sold in the school store and to the Kiwanis and the foundation and so forth, things around town. So pretty cool little thing there. I guess another big thing that was not so much fun to talk about, but it is something to talk about because I was told I have an hour. We did spend the year doing a lot of housekeeping, and it's kind of like a thankless job, but it just kind of needed to be done. So it took us almost 6 months, but we did review all of our bylaws that hadn't been reviewed in many, many moons. So we formed a committee to go through those, update them, bring them up to the times, because there was like nothing involved in communications around with use of electronics. So I mean, it was very outdated. So we spent time doing that. Our new financial treasurer, she's kind of going through years and years and years of data and just trying to give us a log of where we've been, where we are coming, branching out, like we've given 25% of our funds here, 50% here, and kind of pie charting it. So it's like a visual look to say, wow, we've been really tilting the scales this way. Maybe, in consideration of a next grant, do we try and tip the scales maybe in another direction, or do we like where we're going and what we're doing? Or it's just a kind of like a visual idea of look at where we are financially and where we want to go. Our secretary has been busy going through 30 years of papers and just kind of sorting them out to say, we have a nice, neat list now that says, here are all the members that we've, had on the board. Here's a list of all the people that have donated in the past 30 years. Here's just all the financial records and tax things and stuff. So again, not fun things to talk about, but it's just a testament to a really great foundation board that are involved and thoughtful and collaborative, and they're willing to take the time to do the not so fun stuff. So I really appreciate each board member and their contributions to the foundation, and we have a lot of fun, and I'm really proud of everyone because they're all thoughtful, and the discussions that we have are excellent things. Someone that I might think of one way, and then Tom talks and it totally changes my mind and thought process on things. So it's a really, really great collaborative group.
Who is on your board?
Our board members are, so I don't forget anybody, myself and Tom. Veronica Whittick is our treasurer. Miranda Green, she's from BMO Harris. She's our secretary. Dar Hovel is our grant coordinator. And additional members are Mark Helmer, Phil Helgeson, and Mark Most, who is going to be done at the end of the year. He's not going to be renewing his time with us, so he'll be greatly missed. Joan Corfidge, Charlie Block, and Rick Murphy. Great question. Anything else? And then our ex officio is our Mr. Hovel, Mayor Hovel, and Dr. Spakuza. What's that? Yeah.
Can you explain to the group how the Prescott Foundation and the St. Croix Valley Foundation, how is that combined?
Do you want to take that part on, or because you're going to be going there, kind of? Okay. That's a very good question.
St. Croix Valley Foundation is, in a sense, I would describe them as kind of a parent organization in a certain sense. The Prescott Foundation started independently and managed itself totally by its own. But a number of years back, and I don't know the exact date, it was prior to my being on the foundation board, but we worked with them. I'm sure they approached us, or we might approach them for input on different topics, especially legal matters, financial, having fiduciary responsibilities for the funds that we have. So we have entered into a cooperative arrangement with them whereby they, because of their larger staff and more focused types of personnel, they manage and watch over our financial funds, investing them and making sure everything is handled in a fiscally sound and legal way. So they take care of that. They are also a great resource for us. They always have a member, I shouldn't say always, but almost always have one of their staff members at our regular meetings. And they are often looked to for a little guidance on how we respond to grants and other things that make sure we keep it legal and not step out of bounds from how we administer things and things like that. So they're a great legal resource and also a financial resource. Plus, we are not the only foundation that partners with them in the same way. There's actually 10 different ones, and they're all listed here, and you probably can't read it. I'll just read them quickly. But Somerset, Prescott, River Falls, Stillwater, Hudson, New Richmond, the Lower St. Croix Valley Foundation, Amory, Chisago Lakes, and then the Northwest Alliance. So we're not the only one who works with them in the same capacity that I've tried to describe. They all do. And so it allows us all to then know what's going on in other ones, and we can maybe learn from each other in terms of how we fundraise and how we manage our foundation here in Prescott. So it's been a really, I think, very positive arrangement for us. And there are certain small fees that we pay for managing the fund, so I think there's a benefit to them that it allows them to, because of the scale of helping to manage all 10 of our organizations along with their own, it makes their costs, helps bring their costs in line too. So it's a win-win thing on both sides. With that, I was just going to spend a little time revisiting what we had talked with you last year about, and a campaign that's been going on with those 10 affiliates or the 10 different foundations that go up the St. Croix Valley, along with the St. Croix Valley organization themselves. And this has been the third year now of this campaign that they've called the Together We Are Stronger campaign. And it's aptly named, and the purpose for the campaign was to try and raise $7.5 million that would be then put into an endowment fund. Actually, I need back. Their goal was to raise $7.5 million. 1/3 of that would have been redistributed back to the 10 affiliates. So had they met their goal, $2.5 million or $250,000 would have came to each of the affiliates at the end of the campaign once that money actually came into them. And so they've been reaching out and working with all of the different affiliates. Mark Most and I have been the leads on it here in Prescott. And so we've worked with them to contact a variety of different individuals, trying to solicit gifts to the foundation that they are trying to build up. The St. Croix Valley Foundation has a lot of committed funds. They have actually about $5 million of funds that are dedicated. But they're dedicated for certain already identified types of needs in the community. They may be educationally based, or they may be based on job development, or any number of things. But those funds are kind of locked in, so they aren't available to them to grant money for other requests that might come to them. So they were trying to build a bigger pool of money that would allow them to respond to standalone types of requests. And so that was the purpose for their campaign, which would have been, again, mutually beneficial to us in Prescott, along with the other 9 foundations that we mentioned, in that we would have each received a portion of that funds that they raised. And in fact, had there been a request that came out of any of those 10, that pool of money, or an annualized portion of it, would be available to grant requests throughout that whole area. So we would win in two ways. Possibly we'd get the cash into our own account, but we could also, if there were a special need that met their criteria, we could maybe tap into their larger pool. You know, and usually I think they're looking at things that are more cultural wide. You know, they use the example of the opioid epidemic as an example that covers everybody. You know, if there was an organization that really had a solution or a plan to try and address something like that, that would be an example that would benefit everyone. It wouldn't just benefit Prescott with a new ball field. It would be available to benefit any number of people throughout the whole area. So that was our goal, to create that pool of money. And we're closing in on the end of that campaign. The end of this year will be the final formal part of that solicitation process. And I would like to point out that our board is the first board of those 10 to have 100% commitment. Each individual on our board has made a commitment to make a contribution to that. And you don't have to do it all once. You can spread it out over the course of up to 5 years, I think, is what the plan calls for. So our board, and I'm very proud of them for all recognizing the importance of this initiative, that they were all willing to put their money where their mouth was and stick behind it too. So we're the first one to achieve that goal. So the actual amount they've raised at this point is not at the 7.5. They've raised a little over $2.5 million, which is still substantial, and they're not done. They've still got a number of people they're hoping to connect with before the end of the year, and certainly contributions could be made to them for that fund after the end of the campaign. But that's about where they're at now. I think, like with any campaign, they shot high, hoping for a max, but they're still, I think, reasonably successful in where they're at in terms of soliciting and getting commitments to that amount of money. So,
well, it's got to be difficult for you as a board to need the funds yourself to give to your community, and yet you're trying to
raise money for another outside organization.
So, you know, when you're talking to folks.
And that's a very good point, because probably the biggest reason, and a legitimate reason, that people who are philanthropic already, and we know they have a history of giving, they prefer to see it go to work where they can see it, so to speak, in their own community, and they continue to do that. We've approached some in that's kind of how they look at it. That's their preference in terms of how they give their resources in terms of charitable giving. So, and we can respect that and certainly do.
When you said the $2.5 million, is that committed?
Yes.
So it's not exactly what they have right now. It's committed over a certain period.
It's committed, and some of it they have on hand, okay, but much of it is committed through ongoing, yearly, or incrementally to be made to the St. Croix Valley Foundation Fund. So as that money does actually come to reside in their hands, that's when they will then start allocating it out on a prorated basis, of course, to the 10 affiliates. So that's how the money will still benefit us, but on a little bit smaller scale than they had envisioned, or at least that's what it looks like now. So, Mandy touched on the fact that, you know, we've got several people in our group here that are past members and or current members, and I just wanted to thank them all for the foundation they laid for us. You know, as I know Rick, he's an ex officio member. Marcia has been in the past. Franz, Rick has been a member. Mike Hunter is another one who has, Penny has been on the board as well. So we've got a lot of people who cross paths, and I think of Dallas Ager's presentation a while back about volunteerism and how that's often the case, that you see the same people are volunteering their time and our energies in a lot of different places. And so it's really important and appreciated that people are so willing to do that and to step out and help in a variety of ways. Janet?
Well, as a recipient, the gathering place is in existence and continuing on due to the Prescott Foundation, and that's been a very good help to getting that initiated and going.
Right,
So,
it was a great jump start to have a pool of money to help furnish and get all the resources necessary. And of course, the school provides a space which makes a great centrally located and convenient place for the seniors to come together. So it is a good example of the kinds of things that the foundation can do, and oftentimes partnering with other organizations to accomplish it.
well, that also increased the awareness of the Prescott Foundation to a larger group of people.
Correct, right.
Yeah.
It makes them realize, oh, that's the kind of stuff you do, because I always find it very interesting, and I probably was the same way before I came on to the board. What exactly does the Prescott Foundation do? You know, you hear that so often, and we try to publicize it and make people aware of the kinds of things we do. And Mandy just reviewed the most recent ones that we've helped support, and yet it's still kind of a mystery to some people, and people that you wouldn't think would be, you know. But so it's an ongoing education thing that just needs to happen.
Do you, I realize you give grants out, you give money out. Do you apply for grants to bring money in through like the state or?
The only, the annual appeal is our only fundraising. Besides, we also do a golf tournament, which I think some of you have all been a part of too. So those are our two main sources of bringing money in.
Okay, so there's you don't really apply for outside grants for money to come in to distribute?
No.
Okay.
And what do you see as like the biggest challenges for the foundation and greatest opportunities in the future?
You know, I think there's some opportunities out there. There's a planned donation that's built into someone's will that could make a huge impact on the funds we have coming up without getting into details. So there's those kinds of potential resources that could be coming to us down the road. You know, the challenge I think really is just continuing to educate people and helping them realize what a mutually beneficial thing it is and community-wide benefit it is to all of us in a variety of ways to just make our community a better and more attractive and more generous, kindly kind of a place to live.
I think one challenge a little bit too is we have been getting really great publicity because we've been impacting a lot of big projects around town. So sometimes now that when you hear Prescott Foundation, they're like, oh, they're just doling out the dough, you know, and they're giving out all these big, huge grants. And so let's ask them for money. Vice versa, we also have, oh, they're giving out all these big grants. Why would they want to support a $500 guest speaker or some, you know, I know you guys talked about the scale for the fishing contest. Why would they want to support that kind of stuff? And I think it's important to note that, you know, beyond the big grants, we do the little ones too. They're a little bit more behind the scenes and maybe, I mean, you can see on the back here, maybe they're not most, you know, all pomp and glory and everything, but I mean, we do appreciate those. I'd love to see the scholarships. We do a scholarship in partner with the school district for the foundation, and then there's an art scholarship. We're seeing littler numbers in students applying for those, and you know that just helps keeps creating awareness of who we are and what we do. So I'd like to see those numbers creep up, The art scholarship is really fun because they have to bring their work to us, and then we formulate a committee that scores them, based on whether it's dance, music, visual art, or through computers and graphics or paintings and pottery. So that's a really fun one that we always enjoy doing. So
I would touch back, and the other people on here may be interested, but that art scholarship is one that was an endowed scholarship.
Yep.
So some people put in their will and their family contributed to it a pretty good chunk of money for an art scholarship every year. So that's not coming out of things that you raise. So it's
Correct.
something that some people,
and the fact that we're still doing it, we still have funds in there to keep continuing to do it every year.
Go on into perpetuity. That fund should allow for a grant every year.
And I do think the other thing is you've had enough resources where you could give bigger grants. We didn't have that 15 years ago, but you did a very nice one for the auditorium and the baseball fields and gathering place.
Yep.
And,
Yes, there's been a couple of big ones recently, which does kind of set the bar kind of high, which I don't think we could continue to be able to have those kinds year after year. But doesn't mean we wouldn't do something to help whenever we can do. We've got limited resources too, and it always comes back to the willingness of the community to support us either through the golf outings or the annual appeal. So we always are going to continue to need that community support to keep doing the good work we're doing.
Well, I think you should all be very proud of the Prescott Foundation. Everywhere you go in this town, you see the effects of it. From my Secret Santa, they provide the protein, the turkey, the ham, or the beef for every family that we help, 20 to 25 families each year. The schools, the community, the clock tower, the Freedom Park, it's really great work. It really is.
It's been a great organization for years, and as we tried to include all the past members, how critical and important they've been in the past as well.
And I think the other thing too is that besides not only just seeing it around town, you have no idea how many people that it's possibly impacting. So now that they have that walkway to Hastings and that bike pathway, you could imagine how many people walk up and down that road or that little pathway and ride bikes. And the chamber, we helped them out with a grant for a bike station down there so that they could get up along to the sidewalk and come into our community, spend their money in our community, and also have a station there, a repair station. So if something breaks or they pop a tire or something, so that's countless. You couldn't put a number of people that's helping impact.
Right, you touch a lot of people that way. And my favorite one, it's not a big one, but it's the bouncy balls that they provided for the St. Joe's, one of the classrooms. The kids that are so kind of bouncy already, they sit on, and this is not the first place it's ever been done, but the teacher had recognized, I think that would help my students. So we funded them to purchase a dozen or 15 of these.
Yeah, they're like balance. They're like giant balance
You
balls.
sit on the wall, which helps them kind of relieve some of that energy that they have while they're trying to focus on the classwork. So
And they get good core work too.
that was kind of cool, and I think it works for them. So it's just cool to see.
I think you make a donation. That's what you do.
Yep.
Just keep supporting it.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much.
Nice job.